The sun was only a pale line on the horizon when Tom drove his old truck down the two-lane road outside his town. The road was quiet at that hour. On both sides, wide fields stretched out with dry grass and a few scattered trees. Tom liked mornings like this because they gave him time to think before the ranch got loud. He was carrying a small toolbox, a bag of feed, and a coil of rope in the back of the truck. He had planned to fix a broken gate on the far side of his land. It was a normal rancher kind of day. Then, a few minutes later, he saw something that made his foot press the brake without thinking. Near the roadside, close to a ditch, a horse was down on the ground. At first Tom thought it might be resting, but the shape was wrong. The horse was not lying like a calm animal. It was slumped, neck stretched out, legs awkward, like the body had simply run out of power. Tom pulled over fast and turned on his hazard lights. Gravel popped under the tires. He stepped out and walked carefully, not rushing, because scared animals could kick even when weak. But this horse did not look scared. It looked empty. The horse was a chestnut color, but the coat was dull, almost dusty. Its ribs showed through the skin. Its mane was tangled with burrs. One ear twitched, then fell back. The horse tried to lift its head, failed, and let it drop again. The breathing was there, but light and uneven. Tom crouched a few feet away. He spoke softly, the way ranchers did when they wanted an animal to feel safe. "Easy now. You are all right." He looked for a halter, a brand mark, anything that could tell him where the horse belonged. He saw no halter. If there was a brand, it was hard to see under dirt and sweat. The horse's side rose and fell slowly. Tom reached out and placed the back of his hand near the horse's nose. Warm air touched his skin. That small sign of life made his heart steady, but it also made the situation feel urgent. Tom's mind ran through possibilities. Heat exhaustion, dehydration, hunger, injury. Any one of them could bring a horse down, and some could end badly if help came too late. He stood up, looked around, and listened. No other vehicles were close. No houses. No barns. The area was open land, with a long view of the road in both directions. It felt like someone had left the horse here and kept going. Tom took a slow breath. He could not just drive away. He could not leave a living animal on the roadside. Not like this. He went back to the truck and grabbed a jug of water. He also took a small towel from the passenger seat. Then he walked back and knelt beside the horse again. He did not pour water into the horse's mouth. He knew that could cause choking. Instead, he tipped a little water into his hand and let the horse smell it. The horse's nose moved. It took a small lick. Then, another. It was slow, but it was something. Tom soaked the towel and gently wiped around the horse's face and neck. The horse's skin felt hot. Tom looked up at the sky. The day was warming fast. Even though it was early, the heat was building. He needed shade. Tom walked back to the truck again and pulled out a folded tarp he used for ranch work. It was not meant for a horse rescue, but he was the kind of man who could make tools do more than one job. He tied one end of the tarp to the truck bed and the other to a fence post nearby. In a few minutes, he made a rough shadow over the horse. Then he sat down on the gravel near the horse's shoulder. Not too close. Not too far. Close enough that the horse could hear him breathe and feel that it was not alone. Time passed in a quiet, heavy way. The horse blinked slowly. Its eyes were tired, but they followed Tom. A fly landed near its cheek. The horse tried to shake it off but could not. Tom waved the fly away and stayed calm. A car passed by. The driver slowed, looked, then kept going. A second car passed, then a truck. The same thing happened. People noticed, but no one stopped. Maybe they thought someone else would handle it. Maybe they did not want trouble. Or maybe they did not know what to do. Tom did not judge them. But he also did not move from his spot. After a while, another vehicle came down the road and slowed more than the others. It pulled over behind Tom's truck. A woman stepped out. She looked in her 30s, wearing a simple jacket and jeans. Her name, Tom would later learn, was Mia. She walked closer with careful steps, eyes wide with concern. "Is it alive?" she asked quietly. Tom nodded. "Yes. Barely. But yes." Mia's face tightened. "Did you call anyone?" "Not yet," Tom said. "I wanted to get it stable first. I do not know how long it has been out here." Mia looked around like she expected the owner to appear. But the road stayed empty. "I can call," she said. "Who do we call?" Tom thought fast. There was a local animal care group in town, and there was a vet who sometimes did emergency visits. But the nearest place with real equipment was still a drive away. "Call the vet," Tom said. "Tell them it is urgent. If they cannot come, call the animal care group. Tell them we need a trailer." Mia took out her phone and stepped aside. Tom listened to her voice as she explained the situation. Her tone was steady, but he could hear the worry. She used clear words. She gave the location. She asked for help without wasting time. When she came back, she said, "The vet is finishing a farm call. They said they can come, but it will take at least 40 minutes. The animal care group has a trailer, but it is out on another pickup. They said maybe an hour." Tom nodded. An hour could be too long. But he would do everything he could in that hour. He kept offering small amounts of water in his hand. He checked the horse's legs from a safe distance. No obvious breaks. No heavy bleeding. That was good, but it did not mean the horse was safe. Mia stood nearby, arms folded, looking at the horse with a kind of respect that surprised Tom. Not everyone cared like that. Many people cared in words, but not in action. "What is its name?" Mia asked. Tom shook his head. "I do not know. It has no halter. No tag." Mia glanced at Tom. "Then we can call it something for now." Tom looked at the horse's tired eyes. He thought of how the animal must have once been strong. He thought of fences, fields, riders, long days, and hard work. "Call it Rusty," he said. "The color fits." Mia smiled a little, then her smile faded. "Poor Rusty." Tom leaned closer, still careful, and spoke again in a soft voice. "Rusty, you hear me? You are not staying out here. Not today." The horse's ear flicked, as if it heard every word. A few more minutes passed. The horse shifted slightly, trying to gather strength. Its front legs pulled in under its body. Tom noticed and sat up straighter. This was a sign. Either it was trying to stand, or it was struggling. "Easy," Tom whispered. "Take your time." Rusty pushed up, wobbled, then fell back down. The attempt was weak, but it was still an attempt. Tom felt a mix of hope and fear. Hope, because the horse still had fight. Fear, because the fight could drain the last energy. Mia stepped forward, then stopped, unsure. "Can we help it stand?" "Not yet," Tom said. "If we force it and it falls wrong, we make it worse. We need to support, not push." Mia nodded like she understood, and she stayed still. Tom looked down the road again. In the distance, the air shimmered a little as the day warmed. No siren. No trailer. Just the empty road and the quiet struggle of a horse trying not to give up. Then Rusty tried again. This time, the horse gathered its legs under its body with more intention. It lifted its chest a little higher. The head rose and stayed up for a few seconds. Tom moved closer, but not into danger range. He positioned himself near the shoulder, ready to step back if needed. He did not grab the horse. He just stayed near, offering calm, like a wall of patience. Rusty pushed harder. The legs shook. The horse stood halfway, then paused, trembling. Tom saw the effort in every muscle. It was not dramatic, not fast. It was slow, gritty, real. A couple of cars slowed and stopped now, drawn by the movement. People got out at a distance. A man in a hoodie. A woman holding a coffee cup. Two teens with phones in their hands. They looked surprised, not just by the horse, but by the fact that the rancher was still here, still working, still refusing to leave. Rusty made one last push and rose to its feet. It swayed, almost falling, but it stayed upright. Tom held his hands up, ready to steady if the horse leaned toward him, but he did not touch unless needed. Rusty stood like a tired fighter, legs thin and shaking, head lowered, breathing hard. The small group by the road went quiet. Mia covered her mouth, eyes bright with emotion. Rusty stood there, wobbling in the early sun, and Tom knew something important. Keeping the horse alive was only the first step. The next step would be harder, and it would require a choice that most people would never make. Tom looked at the horse, then at the gathering strangers, and then back at Rusty again. And in his mind, he made a decision that would soon leave everyone watching completely stunned. Rusty stood on shaky legs near the roadside, breathing hard as the morning sun climbed higher. The small crowd that had gathered stayed silent, unsure what to do next. Tom kept his body relaxed and his movements slow. He knew that one sudden sound or rush could send the horse back to the ground. Tom raised one hand toward the people and spoke calmly. "Please stay back. Give him space." Everyone listened. Even the two teens lowered their phones. Rusty's head hung low, but his ears moved, listening to every sound. His legs trembled like they might fold at any moment. Mia stood beside Tom, her face tight with worry. "He is standing," she said softly. "That is good, right?" "It is good," Tom replied. "But it is also risky. Standing takes strength he does not have much of." Tom walked to his truck and pulled out the coil of rope. He did not move toward Rusty yet. He laid the rope on the ground so the horse could see it. Horses feared surprises more than pain. Tom wanted Rusty to trust every step. "I am going to make a soft lead," Tom said to Mia. "Not to pull him. Just to guide him if he loses balance." Mia nodded. She trusted Tom without asking more. Tom moved slowly toward Rusty's shoulder. The horse lifted its head slightly, eyes wide but not panicked. Tom spoke in a low, steady voice. "You are doing well. Just stay with me." He gently slipped the rope around Rusty's neck, loose and careful, never tightening it. Rusty flinched but did not fight. That small act told Tom something important. The horse was tired, but it was still gentle, still willing. A pickup truck pulled up behind the crowd. An older man stepped out. His name was Ben, a local farmer Tom recognized. Ben took off his hat and walked closer, stopping a few steps away. "That is a bad sight," Ben said quietly. "How long has he been here?" "Not sure," Tom answered. "Long enough to be in trouble." Ben studied Rusty's thin frame. "I have a stock trailer back at my place. It is 10 minutes away." Tom looked at him with surprise. "Can you bring it?" Ben nodded. "I will be right back." That changed everything. A trailer meant Rusty could be moved safely. But there was still a problem. Rusty was standing, but walking was another matter. Mia checked her phone again. The vet just texted. "She is on the way. 20 minutes now." "Good," Tom said. "We wait. No moving until the vet sees him." Ben nodded and drove off. The crowd relaxed a little, knowing help was coming. Some people stepped back into their cars, but a few stayed, drawn by the quiet tension of the moment. Rusty shifted his weight and took one small step forward. His front leg buckled slightly. Tom tightened his grip on the rope just enough to steady, not pull. "Easy," Tom said. "Easy." Rusty stopped moving. His sides heaved. Sweat darkened his coat. Mia knelt a few feet away, watching Rusty's legs. She had never been this close to a horse before. She felt helpless, but also deeply involved, like leaving now would feel wrong. "Why would someone leave him like this?" she asked. Tom did not answer right away. He had seen many things in his years. Some people worked animals hard. Some ran out of money. Some simply made bad choices. "I do not know," he said finally. "But right now, the reason does not matter. What matters is what happens next. Rusty lowered his head and almost lost balance again. Tom stepped closer, placing his body between Rusty and the open road. If the horse fell, Tom wanted him to fall away from traffic. A siren sounded faintly in the distance. Mia looked up. Is that the vet? Tom listened. Yes. That sounds like her. The sound grew closer. A white vehicle pulled up behind the truck. A woman stepped out wearing work boots and a dusty jacket. Her name was Sarah. She carried a medical bag and moved with confidence. She took one look at Rusty and frowned. He is worse than I expected. She walked slowly toward Rusty, letting him see her. She spoke in a calm voice, introducing herself, not to the people, but to the horse. Hello there. You are safe. We are here to help. She checked Rusty's eyes, gums, and breathing. She felt his legs and listened to his chest. Tom watched closely, ready to move if asked. Severe dehydration, Sarah said. Likely underfed for weeks. His muscles are weak. Standing this long is draining him. Can he be moved? Tom asked. Yes, but carefully. We need to load him soon. If he goes down again, getting him up will be harder. Ben's truck returned just then, pulling the stock trailer behind it. The sight of it made the crowd murmur. Sarah nodded toward the trailer. Good timing. They positioned the trailer as close as possible. Tom and Ben opened the back. The inside was padded with straw. Sarah explained the plan clearly. We will guide him slowly. No rushing. If he refuses, we stop. If he stumbles, we support. Tom took the rope gently. Ben stood on the other side. Sarah stayed near Rusty's head. Come on, Rusty, Tom said softly. One step at a time. Rusty hesitated. The trailer looked dark inside. Horses feared closed spaces when weak. Rusty leaned back, legs shaking. Sarah placed her hand on Rusty's neck. It is all right. You can do this. Rusty took one step. Then another. Each step looked like effort pulled from deep inside. The crowd held its breath. Just before the trailer ramp, Rusty stopped. His legs trembled badly. His head dropped. Tom felt it then. Rusty was done. If they pushed now, the horse would fall. Stop, Tom said firmly. Sarah agreed. He needs a moment. They waited. The road was quiet again. Even the wind seemed to pause. Tom leaned close to Rusty's ear. You are not alone. We are not leaving you. Rusty lifted his head slightly. His ear flicked toward Tom's voice. Then, slowly, with a deep breath, he took the final steps up the ramp. When Rusty entered the trailer and stood inside, supported by straw and walls, a soft sound passed through the crowd. Relief. Respect. Surprise. Mia wiped her eyes. I did not think he would make it. Sarah closed the trailer gently. He made it because someone stayed. Tom stepped back, sweat on his brow, arms tired. He looked at Rusty through the slats. The horse stood inside, weak but alive. Ben climbed into his truck. I will take him to my ranch. There is space and quiet. Sarah nodded. I will follow and start treatment right away. As the vehicles prepared to leave, the people who had watched began to talk quietly. Some shook their heads in disbelief. Others looked at Tom like they were seeing him for the first time. Tom did not smile. He only watched the trailer pull away. What he had done so far was already more than most people would do. But what no one knew yet was that Tom was about to make a choice that would change Rusty's life forever, and that choice would truly stun everyone who heard about it. The trailer rolled slowly down the road toward Ben's ranch, dust rising behind the tires. Rusty stood inside, weak but steady, supported by straw and the gentle motion of the vehicle. Tom followed behind in his truck, eyes fixed on the trailer the entire way. He did not turn on the radio. He did not look at his phone. His mind stayed with the horse. When they reached the ranch, Ben parked near a quiet barn away from noise and activity. Sarah arrived moments later and opened the trailer with care. Rusty blinked as fresh air and shade met his face. The barn smelled of hay and clean wood. It was calm, a good place for healing. They did not rush Rusty out. Sarah checked his breathing again and felt his legs. Then she guided him down the ramp slowly. Rusty stepped onto the dirt, legs still shaky but holding. Ben had prepared a soft stall with fresh straw and water placed low so Rusty could reach without strain. Rusty walked inside with effort and stopped. He lowered his head and stood still, as if the quiet itself was helping him rest. Tom leaned against the stall door, finally allowing himself to breathe deeply. Sarah began treatment right away. She gave fluids in small careful amounts. She checked his temperature and listened to his heart. She explained everything clearly to Tom and Ben. He will need days, maybe weeks, she said. He needs rest, food given slowly, and constant care. If pushed too fast, his body could fail. Tom nodded. He understood the weight of those words. Mia arrived later that afternoon. She had followed directions Ben texted her. When she saw Rusty standing in the stall, her face softened with relief. "He is still here," she said quietly. "Yes," Tom replied. "And he is not going anywhere." Over the next few days, Tom came to the ranch early each morning and stayed late into the evening. He helped feed Rusty measured portions. He cleaned the stall. He brushed Rusty gently, removing dirt and knots from his coat. He talked to him, not expecting answers, just offering presence. Rusty began to respond. His eyes grew brighter. His ears moved with more curiosity. He drank more water. He even took a few steady steps around the stall without swaying. Sarah visited daily to check progress. Each time, she looked more hopeful. "He is improving," she said on the fourth day. "Slowly, but honestly. That is the best kind." Ben watched Tom closely. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the barn walls with orange light, Ben spoke. "You care about that horse like he is yours." Tom paused, brush still in his hand. "I suppose I do." Ben leaned on the fence. "Do you know whose horse he is?" Tom shook his head. "No brand. No report. No one has come looking." Ben nodded. "That happens sometimes. People disappear from animals they cannot handle anymore." That night, Tom drove home tired but unable to rest. Rusty's face stayed in his mind. The way the horse had tried to stand on the road. The way he trusted Tom with the rope. Trust like that was not common. The next morning, Tom returned with papers in his hand. He met Sarah at the barn. "I want to ask you something," Tom said. Sarah looked up from her notes. "Go on. If no one claims Rusty, what happens?" Sarah considered the question. He could be transferred to an animal care group. They would find a place for him. Maybe a foster home. Maybe adoption. Tom nodded. "And if I wanted to take responsibility for him?" Sarah studied Tom carefully. "You mean take him to your ranch?" "Yes." Sarah smiled gently. "That would be a good place for him. But it is a commitment. This horse will not be the same. He may never work again." Tom did not hesitate. "That is all right." When Ben heard the plan, he raised his eyebrows. "You are serious." "I am," Tom said. "He deserves a safe place. Not a job. Not pressure. Just care." Ben looked at Rusty through the stall bars. Then he looked back at Tom. "You know people will talk." Tom shrugged. "Let them." Word spread fast through the area. People who had seen the rescue began to hear what Tom planned to do. Some were surprised. Some were doubtful. "A horse like that costs money," one man said at the feed store. "He should sell him once he recovers," another said. Tom heard the comments but did not argue. He focused on preparing space at his ranch. He fixed fences. He cleaned an old shelter. He bought extra feed and bedding. He wanted everything ready. After 2 weeks, Rusty was strong enough to travel again. His steps were steadier. His coat had more shine. He even showed signs of interest in the world around him, lifting his head when people passed by. On the day of the move, Mia came to help. She had grown attached to Rusty. She brought apples cut into small safe pieces. "You really are taking him home," she said with a smile. "Yes," Tom said. "He belongs there now." As Rusty was guided into the trailer, people gathered again. Some were the same faces from the roadside. Others were neighbors who had heard the story. The trailer doors closed gently. Tom climbed into his truck, feeling something heavy and warm in his chest. Not fear. Responsibility. When they reached Tom's ranch, Rusty stepped out slowly and looked around. Wide fields. Quiet fences. Open sky. He stood still for a moment, then took a few steps forward, sniffing the air. Tom watched from a short distance, giving Rusty space. This was not a finish. It was a beginning. That evening, as the sun set behind the hills, Tom stood by the fence and looked at Rusty resting in the grass. The horse lifted his head and looked back at Tom. In that look, there was no fear. There was no question. Only trust. And that trust was something Tom knew he would protect, no matter what anyone else thought. Life at Tom's ranch settled into a slow, steady rhythm, and Rusty became part of it without anyone forcing him. The first few days were quiet ones. Rusty stayed close to the shelter, resting often, lifting his head only when Tom approached with food or water. Tom never rushed him. He believed healing worked best when patience led the way. Each morning, Tom woke before sunrise. He checked fences, filled water troughs, and prepared Rusty's feed with careful attention. The food came in small portions, spread out through the day, just as Sarah had instructed. Rusty learned the routine quickly. He began to wait near the fence when he heard Tom's boots on the dirt. Mia visited often. She brought brushes and sat nearby while Tom worked. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes they stayed quiet. Rusty seemed to like her presence. He would stand calmly while she brushed his mane, closing his eyes as if the gentle touch helped him forget the hard days. Weeks passed, and strength returned little by little. Rusty's coat gained shine. His ribs became less sharp. His walk grew steadier. He started exploring the pasture, stopping to sniff grass and watch birds land on the fence posts. Neighbors began to stop by more often. Some were curious. Some were impressed. Some were unsure why Tom was putting so much effort into one weak horse. One afternoon, a man named Luke, who owned a nearby training stable, came to visit. He walked around the pasture, watching Rusty move. "He is improving fast," Luke said. "Good build too. With training, he could be valuable." Tom leaned against the fence. "He is not for sale." Luke laughed lightly. "Everything is for sale at the right price." Tom shook his head. "Not this one." Luke looked surprised. "You could make good money. People would pay well for a horse with this kind of recovery story." Tom looked out at Rusty grazing peacefully. He was not angry, just firm. He has had enough pressure in his life. Luke left shaking his head, clearly thinking Tom was making a mistake. Similar conversations followed. Word spread that Rusty was doing well. Offers came quietly at first, then more directly. Each time, Tom gave the same answer. No. Ben noticed the attention too. One evening, as they stood near the barn watching Rusty drink water, Ben spoke carefully. "You know, Tom, keeping him means more expense. Feed. Vet visits. Time." Tom nodded. "I know." Ben studied him. "Then why are you doing it?" Tom thought for a moment. "Because he trusts me. And because not everything has to earn its keep." Ben smiled slowly. "That is rare thinking these days." One night, a storm rolled in. Wind pushed hard against the fences, and rain fell heavy. Tom went out with a flashlight to check on Rusty. He found the horse standing near the shelter, nervous from the noise. Tom stayed with him through the storm, hand resting gently on Rusty's neck. Rusty leaned slightly into him, not out of fear, but comfort. That moment stayed with Tom long after the rain stopped. The next morning, Tom made a decision. He drove into town and visited the local office. He spoke with officials. He filled out papers. He made arrangements that surprised even him. It took time and explanation, but Tom was patient. A week later, he invited neighbors, ranchers, and a few people from town to his land. Ben helped spread the word. Mia came early to help prepare. People arrived unsure of what to expect. Some thought Tom was finally selling Rusty. Others believed he was showing off the horse's recovery. They gathered near the pasture fence. Rusty stood calmly in the grass, healthy and alert now. His presence drew quiet respect. Tom stepped forward and cleared his throat. "Thank you for coming," he said. "Many of you saw Rusty the day he collapsed on the roadside. Many of you helped. Some of you watched. I want you to know what happened next." He told the story simply. The rescue, the care, the slow healing. He spoke about responsibility and patience. He spoke about trust. Then he said the words no one expected. "This land will now be a resting place for animals like Rusty. Not workers. Not tools. Just animals that need time and safety." The crowd murmured. Tom continued. "I am setting aside part of my ranch as a small refuge. Horses that are old, injured, or simply worn down will have a place here. They will not be sold. They will not be pushed. They will live out their days in peace." Silence followed. Then whispers. Then disbelief. Luke, standing near the back, spoke up. "You are giving up profit for this?" Tom nodded. "Yes." Someone else asked, "Why?" Tom looked at Rusty. "Because someone stayed when it mattered." Mia felt tears in her eyes. Ben crossed his arms, clearly proud. Rusty lifted his head as if sensing the attention. He walked slowly toward the fence and stopped near Tom. He stood tall, calm, strong. The crowd looked at the horse, then back at Tom. What they saw was not foolishness. It was purpose. People began to talk differently now. Not about money but about care. About responsibility. About doing something without reward. As the gathering ended, several people stayed behind. They asked how they could help. Some offered supplies. Others offered time. Tom did not expect that. But he welcomed it. That evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky in soft colors, Tom stood beside the pasture. Rusty grazed nearby, safe and free. What started as one act of kindness had grown into something larger. Something lasting. And Tom knew that what he had done would not only change Rusty's life, but would quietly change the way people around him thought about compassion itself. The refuge did not change overnight, but its effect spread quietly through the land around it. In the weeks after Tom announced his plan, people returned to the ranch not out of curiosity, but with purpose. Some brought extra hay. Some brought old water tubs. A few offered time and strong hands. Tom accepted help carefully. He wanted the refuge to grow slowly, the right way. Rusty became the calm center of it all. He moved with confidence now, walking the fields with an easy pace. His body looked stronger, and his eyes carried peace instead of fear. He no longer stayed close to the shelter all the time. He explored, stopping to watch the horizon or stand quietly under trees. One morning, a truck arrived pulling an older trailer. Inside was a gray horse named Willow, thin and stiff from age. Her owner had passed away, and no one in the family could keep her. The horse had nowhere to go. Tom opened the gate without hesitation. Willow stepped into the pasture slowly. Rusty watched from a distance, then walked over. He did not crowd her. He simply stood nearby, calm and steady. Willow lowered her head, relaxed, and followed him toward the water. Mia watched with a smile. "He knows what it means to arrive tired," she said. More horses came over time. Each had a story. Some had worked too hard. Some had been ignored. Some were simply old and unwanted. Tom did not ask many questions. He believed the past mattered less than the present. Caring for the refuge took effort. There were early mornings and late nights. There were vet visits and careful feeding plans. There were moments of worry when a horse struggled or grew weak. Tom faced each challenge with the same steady patience he had shown on the roadside. People noticed. Local schools asked if students could visit. Tom agreed, as long as the visits stayed calm and respectful. He walked small groups through the pasture, teaching them how to move slowly and read an animal's body language. He explained that strength was not only about power, but about trust. Rusty often stood nearby during these visits. Children reached out gently, and Rusty accepted their touch without fear. His presence seemed to teach without words. One afternoon, a boy asked, "Why do you not make them work?" Tom knelt to the boy's level. "They worked before. Now they rest. That is also important." News of the refuge reached farther places. A local paper wrote a short story about the rancher who chose care over profit. The story spread online. Messages arrived from people Tom had never met. Some thanked him. Some shared stories of animals they wished they could help. Tom read the messages quietly in the evenings. He did not feel proud. He felt grounded. Ben continued to help whenever needed. He fixed fences and shared supplies. One evening, as they stood watching the horses move slowly across the field, Ben spoke. "You started something bigger than you planned." Tom nodded. "I only meant to help one horse." Ben smiled. "Sometimes that is how it starts." Seasons changed. Summer softened into fall. The air cooled. Leaves turned. The refuge adapted. Shelters were reinforced. Feed storage was expanded. The horses settled into a peaceful rhythm. Rusty grew into a leader without trying. New horses often followed him. He showed them where to stand, where to drink, where to rest. He never pushed. He simply existed with quiet strength. One morning, Tom noticed Rusty standing alone near the fence, looking toward the road where everything had begun. Tom walked over and stood beside him. "You remember," Tom said softly. Rusty flicked an ear, then turned his head toward Tom. He did not step away. He stayed. That moment carried more meaning than words could hold. Years later, people would still talk about the day a horse collapsed on the roadside and a rancher stopped. But those who knew the full story understood that the real moment was not the rescue. It was the choice that followed. The choice to stay. The choice to care. The choice to build something gentle in a hard world. As the sun set behind the hills, casting long shadows across the pasture, Rusty moved closer to Tom. The horses grazed peacefully around them. The land felt quiet and whole. Tom rested his hand on the fence and breathed in the evening air. He had not planned for any of this. He had simply listened when it mattered. And because of that, lives were changed. Not with noise. Not with praise. But with steady kindness that lasted.